Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me out here tonight. Thank you, Doug, Nathan, Sean, and everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And before I get into my spiel, I do want to speak a little bit about what Sean said and your constant endeavours in regards to your local council. I watched that from where I am, and I applaud the effort that goes into that. And one thing I will say, and one little bit of advice I can give is, keep hammering them for the whole 4 years. As Sean stated, the election starts, your election campaign period starts the next day after elections. And you can't let them off. You always got to be in their letterbox, not just social media. Every quarter, put out a leaflet with the libertarian branding, be in their letterbox. Don't let people forget, because the one thing these elected representatives, they bank on is people forgetting. And you don't let them forget. You remind people that in a cost of living crisis, while Australians are struggling to pay the mortgage, the rent, the bills, and put food on the table to feed their children, this is what they did to you. They jacked your rates up. They wanted 40%, they jacked your rates up. They got 25%, but bet your bottom dollar next term, they're coming for the other 25%. So keep up the good work, and I'm confident that with some hard campaigning, we can get 2 or 3 libertarian candidates up, because people are pissed off over at the Northern Beaches, and quite rightly so, but we're just going to keep the momentum going. Now look, I'll get into it tonight. For those that don't know, my name is Steve Christou. I'm a father to 3 girls and grandfather, and I'm a Libertarian councillor at Cumberland City Council and former mayor there. My background is I spent 10 years as a political staffer to a federal member of parliament, and in 2017 I got elected to my local council, which was Cumberland Council. It was one of those newly merged super councils, so I'm still part of the inaugural group. Now, why I'm standing in the December 13th plebiscite is because I genuinely believe I'm the best person for the job, because I have a proven history of fighting for what's right and a proven history of achievements as well. Now, I joined the Libertarians because I genuinely believe I want to help grow the party, and they're a party that can go places, but we also need to get our foot in the door and start expanding and stop being a fringe party. And the only way to do that is to run strong, solid campaigns with worthy candidates. Now, I was a mayor back in 2019, 2020, when the so-called COVID pandemic hit. And I was the first mayor in Australia to speak out against the draconian decisions and what was happening to the Australian people. I spoke out before it became fashionable for other mayors to speak out, and none of them were speaking out until 3 months afterwards. And it was at a time when they were locking people down. They locked 12 local government areas down, including myself, our local government area. They were forcing people to take the jabs and mandates. People lost their jobs. People couldn't go to work. People were told they couldn't leave their house for more than 5 kilometres outside of their local government area. And they had extra police patrolling their neighbourhoods and an army presence, unheard of in Australia, and it was absolutely criminal what was happening. And I was the first mayor to come out and really hold the state government to account. And as a result, I suffered a lot of threats to my political career, and Christy, you're finished, and we'll get you when we'll end your career. You're just a lunatic. I had Ray Hadley on his 2GB show, really going me very hard, screaming and saying, don't give that lunatic any more airtime. All these channels give this lunatic airtime, and you shouldn't give him airtime. And for what? For standing up for the Australian people. Because as an elected representative, that is your job. If you're just going to take a position just to be comfortable and not rock the boat and collect your little salary and your little perks and throw the people you're meant to represent under the bus, you shouldn't be doing that. That's one thing. I've also stood up to drag story reading time in our libraries. These councillors, these local councils, once a year, 151 councils get together at state conference. And you would think it's a forum where they will get together and they'll plan some ideas on how to better help their residents and their communities, roads, footpaths, infrastructure, perhaps discussing how they can bring down the excess bloated staff that they all have, as you saw in your council. over millions and millions and millions of dollars being spent on staff. But no, they don't do that. What they do at local government conferences, they get together and they start discussing drag story reading time in our libraries. They get together and they start discussing gender neutral toilets and climate hysteria. And this is where your ratepayer money goes. And a few years ago, they got together at one local government conference and they started discussing drag story reading time. And I went back to my council and I thought, not in my council, we're going to make an example of this and set a precedent across Australia. We're going to stand up and say no. So we took it to a council meeting and it was deadlocked at the first meeting. It was 7-7. The Labor Party councillors, they all voted to support drag story reading time. So it went to a mayoral casting vote and they knocked it out. And they thought, great, we won. Well, no, they didn't win because it gave us 2 weeks to lodge a rescission, get into the community and create a community campaign, and 600 residents showed up to the chamber that night, 2 weeks later, and the decision was drastically overturned. Anne and Adriana were there that night, and that's the kind of willpower it takes. When you've got the trans lobby coming down to try and lobby against you, and they met with 600 residents, they were sent packing quickly because they, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, they are a powerful lobby because the media gives them some attention, and they're able to get traction through social media and media. But these are the kind of things that I stand for and I represent. Also, to hold the number one, I think to be the lead candidate in a libertarian, in a libertarian plebiscite and upper house state election, you have to be able to carry weight and represent your people because it's a very competitive field. And with One Nation, the realities are we'll be competing with One Nation for the last spot on the upper house ticket. Now, with One Nation polling the way they are, close to 13%, it's possible that they will get 2 up and we'll miss out altogether. So who we pick as a candidate needs to carry weight, have a reputation, a proven track record, and be able to attract a lot of media attention. Because one thing libertarians complain about is the lack of media attention that they get, and media does not want to give us that. But I have a proven track record and history of consistently being in national media and have those contacts. I featured heavily against the ISIS riots and held the Prime Minister to account. Sky News and other news outlets ran that. 10 News ran it as well. I stood up to the Prime Minister on cost of living crisis and his recent move when he tried to bring in their family, when he was considering bringing the family bedroom tax as well. National media covered that, and many, many, many other issues. And even when our council had the same parent book in our libraries in the 2-year-old section of the council. This is where Australia is at the moment, okay? Welcome to country as well, being very outspoken on that, and again, being able to bring in national media to uphold the values of this flag, because they are dwindling Australian values, and they are shaming us and indoctrinating our children into believing that the Australian flag is something to be ashamed of. That our children are told at school they constantly should be sorry for who they are, and they should be saying sorry to the Australian people. Once upon a time when we all went to school, and I know when I went to school, every morning we lined up at assembly and we sang the national anthem proudly under the Australian flag. That doesn't happen anymore. They're getting a welcome, they're reciting welcome to country, and these are the kind of issues that we have to fight against and be strong on. And I will campaign like a pit bull for the libertarian cause day and night, because the job of a lead candidate requires you to be available basically 24/7 for the next year in campaign. And I've done more campaigns than I've had birthdays, and I know what it takes to carry a brand. I'm able to get the volunteers on polling booths as well, because it's very important to get people on how to vote. Bring finances in and help finance a campaign. able to get the media. It's very hard standing up here and talking about yourself, but I'm doing my best, and why it's very important, or why we need a strong lead candidate. Because it shouldn't be a popularity contest of who we like best within our party. It should be who we genuinely believe can campaign and hammer home those libertarian values and hold the government and the other parties to account.
Absolutely.
And I have a strong track record of holding the Liberals to account, Labor to account, the Greens to account, and that is no lie, because all anyone has to do is just Google the name and they will see we're consistently standing up for Australian values. Look, I'll leave it there. I hope to have your support come December 13th if you're a financial voting member of the Libertarian Party, and I'll always give you a promise that I will fight very, very hard like a Spartan for the whole election campaign and ensure that we hopefully get someone elected to join John Ruddick in the upper house, because John needs some support up there. And and if we elect a candidate that has no previous experience, it takes them about 2 years to get their foot in the door and work out how Parliament works. With me, you don't have that issue. I have extensive political experience, and I hope to have your support because I stand for everybody here. Thank you.